Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute warmly welcomes you to a world-class educational campus that showcases excellent infrastructure facilities, housing various departments in diverse fields of study. Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute warmly welcomes you to a world-class educational campus that showcases excellent infrastructure facilities, housing various departments in diverse fields of study.
Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, Madurai, Chennai. Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, Madurai, Chennai.
Of an unstable angina. Below I have given you the picture, and now you are able to see the T inversion, symmetrical arrowhead pointed in V5, V6, V4, etc. So now let's go into the next phase. What is meant by acute myocardial infarction? Acute myocardial infarction means that the myocardial cells have died. Cell ischemia injury has now gone on to cell death or necrosis. So again, once again, based on this shift of the ST segment, is it going up or going down? It is called as non-ST elevation MI or ST elevation MI. So now let's deal with non-ST elevation MI. So if the ST segment is depressed down from baseline, that is not elevated, then it is called as NSTEMI. Here you're nicely able to see the ST segment is depressed by almost 1 to 2 millimeters and the T wave is also inward. So what are the ECG findings in STEMI? One is ST segment depression, that is about 1 millimeter or more, which is flat, horizontal or downsloping, and the T inversion as it was in unstable angina, symmetrical, pointed, more than 2 millimeters. So the history of the diagnosis of an NSTEMI is done again by history taking in addition to ECG changes. Almost in 90% of cases of NSTEMI, the cardiac troponin, that is the biomarkers, may not be elevated. So what are the types of ST segment depression which show an ischemia pattern? Horizontal and downsloping, whereas the upsloping is not that important. So right, to recapitulate, acute coronary syndrome, one is unstable angina, two is myocardial infarction, which based on the ECG can be NSTEMI or STEMI. In unstable angina, the diagnosis is mainly by history taking. In 50% may show the T wave inversion, which is symmetrical arrowhead pointed. In NSTEMI, as the name suggests, the ST segment is depressed by 1 millimeter or more. It is horizontal or downsloping. Also the same unstable angina feature, that is T wave inversion, more than 1 millimeter is present. So this is an ECG showing ST segment depression and T wave inversion. Below the yellow square is the actual picture of a NSTEMI. Here you see the ST depression and T inversion in L1, AVL, B5 and B6, suggestive of NSTEMI. Now, this is a very important part of the talk. I've given you a diagram on top saying look. That means you have to look very carefully. Many of you can attempt to see. I am doing this ECG in the topic of NSTEMI.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes?
Audio is not clear.
Now? Able to hear?
Audio
Hello?
is not clear, sir. So, presentation is not visible and audio is not clear, sir.
What's happening?
Presentation is not visible, sir.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
No, on and away.
Yes, sir.
Kindly interrupt me if anything is wrong. Are you able to hear also?
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Audio is heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes,
if you
sir.
look
Yes,
at
sir.
this,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
if you see this ECG, it is coming under NSTEMI. Here you're seeing the ST segment depression in L1, AVL, V4, V5, V6, and also in L2, L3, and AVL. So what is your first impression? Your first impression is this looks like a NSTEMI. But mind you, this is a trick and point, and which is very, very important point. Whenever you see ECG showing ST segment depression as NSTEMI, you must look into lead AVR. Look in the lead AVR. The most important part of the AVR is if the ST segment elevation is there in AVR, the rest of the leads show ST depression. AVR alone shows ST elevation. It is a life-threatening condition called left main coronary artery disease. So whenever you see an ECG and you think the patient is having NSTEMI, ST depression, T inversion in a number of leads, your eyes must go to look at AVR. And if you see an ST segment elevation of 0.5 millimeters or more in late AVR, it indicates left main coronary artery disease, which requires to be immediately attended to, admitted, and even undergo an emergency angiogram. It is a life-threatening condition. So do not neglect looking into AVR, especially if the patient is having an ECG that looks like NSTEMI. So the last part, ST segment elevation MI. Here, the ST segment is elevated from baseline. So the acute myocardial infarction is called as STEMI. Now, you had unstable angina, ischemic T-wave inversion. In STEMI, you had ST depression and T-wave inversion. In STEMI, it has got three phases. The very urgent phase called the hyperacute phase, and the completed phase called the fully evolved phase, and the old phase called the resolution phase. In STEMI alone, you will have to remember three ECG profiles. So in hyperacute phase or the very acute phase, as the name suggests, there is a slope elevation of ST, and the ST takes off much earlier from the descending limb of the R wave. See, the ST is starting much earlier on the descending limb of the R wave. Now look into the T wave. It is tall and wide. All along we're talking about inverted. Here it is tall and wide. You can remember another point called increased VAT. So in hyperacute phase, slope elevation of ST, tall and wide T, increased VAT. இது ஒரு மந்திரம் மாதிரி. Slope elevation of ST, tall and wide T, increased VAT is the hyperacute phase of ST elevation MI. Now this hyperacute phase of STEMI will, as if no treatment is done, it will go into a fully evolved phase where the cells die. So how does it go? So the Q wave becomes deeper. It gets a pathological Q wave. The R wave goes away as the myocardium is dying or dead, and the ST segment tends to come down, but still it is convex upward. And mind you, the tall and wide T has become inverted and ischemic. So that is the second phase, fully evolved phase. You will get a pathological Q wave. The Q wave is wide and deep. The R wave is almost gone. The ST is still elevated and convex upward so much. And the T wave is become like our old friend, inverted, pointed, deep, and symmetrical. So hyperacute phase, slope elevation of ST, tall and wide T, increased VAT. Fully evolved phase, pathological Q, still raised convex upward ST, and ischemic T inversion. The last phase, that is the resolution phase of the old phase, is very simple. No more is there a worry about ST changes. No more is there a worry about T wave changes. Only the pathological Q wave remains. In fact, when a person comes for an anesthetic assessment for ECG, the patient may not tell that he had an infarct. But if you see in the ECG, you look at a pathological Q wave, it gives you the suspicion that the patient had an old myocardial infarction. Now, there's a small point called anatomic localization of MI. That is, if you see a car, it appears different when viewed from different angles. Similarly, the different areas of the heart are seen by the leads in different views.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Sir,
excuse me, sir.
Yes?
It is not visible, sir.
No problem. I'll come. I think on and off the presentation is going away. No problem. No problem. Just interrupt me. I don't know. Something is problem.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
It will come. It will come. Is it okay?
Sir,
Is this
it's
slide
okay,
is
sir.
seen? Audio
Yes,
is
sir,
seen?
yes,
Heard?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
when you see a car appearing different when viewed from different angles, Similarly, the different areas of the heart are seen by the leads in different views. So you correlate the leads and find out where the MI is happening. You look at this car, front it appears different, side it appears different, top it appears different. Each of the leads, the 12 leads in the ECG, look at the heart in different ways. And so you must find out where exactly the myocardial infarction is occurring. So if you see the myocardial infarction pattern in L1, AVL, V5 and V6, L1, AVL, V5 and V6, it's called anterolateral area of MI. If you see the leads which are over the septum, V1, V2, V3 and V4, it is called as anteroseptal MI. So just remember the lateral leads, L1, AVL, and the lateral lead V5, V6 together they are called as anterolateral, whereas the anteroseptal is V1, V2, V3 and V4. If you club all together, it is L1, AVL, V5, V6, V1, V2, V3, V4, that is both anterolateral and anteroseptal, then it is called as an extensive anterior wall MI. You have to just slightly remember that the inferior leads are the 2, 3 and AVL. So remember extensive anterior, which will include anterolateral and anteroseptal, inferior wall MI. There are two other MIs which are specific. I will go into them in detail. That is true posterior wall MI and the right ventricular MI. It is to remember that the anterolateral, anteroseptal, extensive anterior, inferior, and even true posterior are the infarctions which are occurring in the left ventricle, whereas RVMI is a MI which is occurring in the right ventricle. So what exactly is meant by true posterior wall MI? Here you are able to see the cut section of the thorax in a lateral view. Posterior is the spine, anterior is the heart. The dark area is the posterior wall MI. Now actually the V1, V2 are in the opposite side of the infarct. Suppose you put a lead in the esophagus and close to the posterior MI, you will get the picture like the green picture, the Q wave, the ST elevation T wave, as you may be able to record in V8 and V9. So what will happen in V1, V2, which is exactly opposite of the posterior wall, it will record inverted or mirror image changes. So what happens in a true posterior wall MI, when you see it in an anterior lead, V1, V2, mirror image changes, how it will appear is the Q wave will appear as a tall, slightly wide R wave. The ST segment depression, which should be there at regular infarct, will show a mirror image as slightly depressed concave upward ST. And the ischemic T wave, which is seen actually in the mirror image, it will be seen as a tall, wide, symmetrical T wave. So the actual pathological Q is seen as a tall, slightly wide R mirror image. The elevated, curved convex elevated ST is seen as a mirror image in V1, V2 as the opposite, depressed concave upward ST. And the ischemic symmetrical arrowhead T inversion is seen as a mirror image in V1, V2 as a tall, wide, symmetrical T wave. So this is a true posterior wall MI. So again, if you see a patient with acute chest pain or acute coronary syndrome, and the ECG shows tall R wave in V1, V2, which is slightly wide, and the ST is depressed in V1, V2 alone. Remember, in V1, V2 alone. Some problem?
Dear participants, kindly mute the audio.
Okay. Everything fine?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a true posterior wall MI. So now we'll go into that specific MI called right ventricular MI. So here the myocardial infarction is occurring on the right ventricle. Here, if you see in V1, V2, in true posterior wall MI, in V1, V2, the ST is depressed and there's a tall R. But here in RVMI, the ST is elevated more than 2 millimeters only in V1, V2. The ST is depressed only in V1, V2 with a tall R wave posterior wall MI. If the ST is elevated more than 2 millimeters in V1, V2, with nothing happening in V3, V4, you think of a right ventricular MI and ask the ECG tech to take a ECG on the right side, that is V3R and V4R. The V3R and V4R, the leads which are over the right ventricle, will show ST elevation. So in an RVMI, V1, V2, as it is shown in this diagram, the ST is elevated only in V1, V2, no elevation at the other places. And if you confirm by doing a right-sided lead V3R, V4R, you will find the ST elevation. Another important point, remember, is most of the RVMI occur along with inferior wall MI. So this is an extensive anterior wall STEMI. You are able to see the hyperacute phase, slope elevation of ST, tall and wide T, and of course an increased VAT in L1 AVL, V1 to V5, to some extent V6. So this is an extensive anterior wall STEMI. Now you're able to see the fully evolved. What will you see in fully evolved? Only a pathological Q, ST elevation and T inversion. So this is seen in V1, V2, V3 and V4, which are the anteroseptal leads. So now summarizing, the ECG of acute coronary syndrome, unstable angina, T inversion more than 2 millimeters, symmetrical pointed arrowhead, present only in half the patients. Rest of the history is important. NSTEMI, ST's depression more than 0.1, which is downsloping or horizontal, and again the ischemic T inversion. In STEMI, hyperacute phase, slope elevation of ST, tall and wide T, increased VAT. The fully evolved phase, pathological Q wave, no R wave, raised convex of ST, but not so much, and the T inversion is prominent. In the old STEMI, you see only a pathological Q. So now let's see what the doctor is telling now after having understood the process. After this webinar, hopefully the ER doctor or the medical person will be confident when faced with the ECG of acute coronary syndrome, and he will say it is very simple. First ECG is NSTEMI, the second ECG is STEMI anterior wall, and the patient with the STEMI, he will diagnose in 10 minutes and send him quickly for a primary PTCA. Thank you for your precious time, and I'm very sorry that now and then the audio got misplaced and the slide went awry. I'm welcome to any questions. I think the presentation has taken exactly 30 minutes.
Thank you, sir, for presenting the wonderful session.
Thank you, thank you. I'm hoping for questions.
I hope all the participants have understood about coronary artery disease. Dear participants, if you have any queries, you can ask. Dear participants, if you have any queries, you can ask or post it in the chat box. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Now I request our Vice Principal, ma'am, Dr. Dawali.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Anybody any questions? I think I asked them to unmute and talk about it. When should we ask a patient to ECG, take ECG? Somebody is asked, Koteeswaran.
Sir,
Actually speaking, when a person develops an acute severe chest pain, most important thing is
again, sir.
Pardon? I didn't catch you. There's a question which came on the chat box. When will you ask to take the ECG? You are in a place where a patient develops acute severe chest pain suggestive of angina, or going on for 20 minutes and going for an infarct. The first thing you do is call the ambulance. Abroad it is 911, here it is 108, or if you're going to some private hospital, the private hospital numbers should be remembered by you. Call the ambulance, give the patient Dispirin tablet, which is a chewable tablet, 350 milligrams of Dispirin tablet. Don't worry about gastritis, etc. Other than allergy to aspirin, don't bother about anything. Give 350 milligrams of Dispirin to chew. take an ambulance, 108 or the private ambulance, and go preferably to the primary PCI center. Once the person is on the table in the ER, you immediately take the ECG. At the same time, we can ask the question, where is the pain? What is the nature of the pain? Are you diabetic or hypertensive? And within 10 minutes, you will have the ECG. You should have the knowledge of ECG in acute coronary syndrome. Your ECG, once the ECG paper is given into your hand, your eyes must look first to see in the 12 leads, is there anywhere ST segment elevation, because STEMI is life-threatening. First to see if there is anywhere ST segment elevation. First, you also see if there are arrhythmias. In this presentation of acute coronary syndrome, I have failed to talk about arrhythmias because I wanted to confine myself to the student or the medical person identifying the acute coronary syndrome. So ECG is taken and given by the ECG technician. See if the ST is elevated, if there are arrhythmias, especially ventricular arrhythmias. Next, you see, scan the ECG for ST depression and T wave inversion. In 10 minutes, you come to a diagnosis, whether it is NSTEMI or STEMI. NSTEMI, the treatment is to add heparin. Whereas if it is a STEMI, you ask the question, how long did you have this acute severe chest pain? And if it is within, say, less than 30 minutes, you push the patient to a primary PTC. Any other questions, please?
I have a question in chat box, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Explain about the posterior wall MI.
Okay, once again. Actually, the posterior wall MI, it is in the posterior part of the heart. The leads which are over the posterior part of the heart are actually leads which we never use. That is V8 and V9. V8 is over the tip of scapula and V9 is over the spine. Now, these two ECGs don't come out very well. So what happens is, if you want to see exactly the regular pattern, that is Q wave, ST elevation, etc., you should do the ECG through a lead in the esophagus. But unfortunately, this is not possible. So what do you do is, the infarction is occurring in the posterior wall, you look in the anterior wall, that is in V1, V2. So what will happen if you are seeing in V1, V2, what are the changes occurring in posterior wall will appear ulta, that is mirror image. Therefore, the pathological Q wave, instead of being a Q wave, will appear as the R wave, tall and wide R wave. Normally, what happens in a fully above my ST is curved convex upwards. So the mirror image or the ulta would be ST is depressed and concave upwards. What you would see there is a T inversion in a fully evolved MI. The mirror image or the ulta image in V1, V2 will be a tall, symmetrical T wave. So that is how the posterior wall is. In fact, if you see an electrocardiogram in a patient with acute MI, if V1 and V2 shows a tall, wide R wave with ST depression and tall T wave, only in V1, V2, there is a chance it is a true posterior wall MI. Another important thing is, true posterior wall MI, very rarely they occur isolated. They also often occur along with inferior wall MI. Anything else?
Thank you, sir. There is another question, sir.
Yeah.
Other questions from chat box, sir. How to identify STEMI and NSTEMI?
No, it's very simple. You just look into the ECG and see how the ST segment is. If the ST segment is depressed downward, it is a non-ST elevation MI, whereas the ST is elevated above the baseline is the ST elevation MI.
Sir, good morning, sir. This is Dr. Kalai
Yes.
Selvi.
Yes, madam.
Sir, which ischemia is more dangerous, sir? Mortality is more. Is it inferior or posterior or anterior wall?
Actually,
Mortality.
madam, the most, it is a very difficult question to answer, but let me put it like this. Person who develops the left main coronary artery disease, I told you the one ECG with the look as the diagram, that is the patient ECG looks like NSTEMI. but AVR shows elevation. That is, everywhere ST segment is depressed. You look at the ECG, you think it is NSTEMI. Look at AVR. AVR is elevated, to some extent elevated in V1 also. So this is called as a left main coronary artery occlusion. So many a time, a not so versatile person will say, actually it is a left main disease which is seen in AVR. So that is the number one mortality, left main coronary artery disease. Second is extensive anterior wall MI, because the extensive anterior wall MI would lead on to pump dysfunction. The main property of the heart is to pump. When the entire extensive anterior wall MI occurs, it goes on to pump failure and arrhythmias. Now, inferior wall MI is also equally important, but comes third in the list, especially inferior wall MI with the ST changes in anterior lead. Inferior wall MI has a high propensity to produce bradycardia and heart block. So the patient with left main coronary artery disease has sudden cardiac death, whereas the extensive anterior wall MI can also develop arrhythmias and death and also pump failure. And the inferior wall MI most often develops bradycardia and this one. So the most hazardous is left main. Second would be the extensive anterior wall. Third would be inferior. Now the true posterior wall MI is not terribly hazardous, and RVMI, it might last even only a few hours. It will go away. So if you don't see it in the first ECG, the RVMI is gone. Does that answer your question, madam?
So why hypotension occurs for hypotension?
Okay. Now the main cause of the hypotension is, what happens is a normally functioning heart which was pumping very well, suddenly it has got a lack of blood supply, especially in extensive anterior wall MI. So the myocardium gets stunned. So once the myocardium gets stunned, it is not able to pump. That is one particular reason. Second particular reason is the patient may develop a arrhythmia, usually ventricular tachycardia, non-sustained, recurrent BPDs or a heart block or bradycardia, and that can cause a hypotension. Third, the most important cause is sudden. We have recently had a eminent personality mortality. The problem is patient extensive anterior wall MI, God forbid, the myocardium ruptures. And then you have a cardiorhexis.
Chandramohan.
Yes?
Dr. Chandramohan.
No names, please. Okay, so therefore, see, why I am telling you this topic is very important is, even medical persons, what do? They'll go, this problem is this COVID time. They don't want to do the ECG. In fact, all premier hospitals are still doing PTCA even during this COVID time. And I must thank and salute my colleague cardiologists who are doing a good job as I'm only teaching.
Thank you, sir.
Else, please?
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else, please?
Sir, good morning.
I think there was one question in the chat box, when to do cardiac enzymes. In fact, in STEMI, medico-legally, it is very important that you do a cardiac enzymes. In fact, when a person comes into the ER, you take a targeted take an ECG, targeted history, and another nurse by the side will take a venous sample for troponin estimation. Now, if the troponin in a STEMI, the diagnosis is actually mainly by troponin. So, if the troponin is not elevated, you ask the person to stay in the ER or in an observation or a temporary ward for at least 6 hours. Repeat the troponin at 1 hour and 3 hours, and still there is no elevation of troponin. It is unlikely the patient is having a STEMI. So cardiac enzymes to be done, especially troponin and CKMB, be done at 0 hour, 1 hour, 3 hours, 6 hours. Anything else, please? What must my primary treatment if a family member develops angina? Oh, your primary thing is, as I told you earlier, pop in a Dispirin 350 milligrams and ask them to chew it swirl it in the mouth and take it. Because this aspirin is supposed to be absorbed buccally, call the ambulance and go directly to a hospital, preferably a primary PTCA center. At least go to a hospital immediately. Don't delay. Many deaths occur during the first hour of an MI, which is the vulnerable period. Anything else, please? We still have lots of time. When we are administering tabecosprin, anything to be considered prior, if at all. The only contraindication in an acute coronary syndrome to give aspirin is a history of aspirin allergy. No worry about gastritis, no worry about hiatus hernia, no worry about peptic ulcer, etc. Anything else? Nobody, any questions on the chat box? What is the role of sorbitrate? Very good. Sorbitrate can be given to reduce the pain, but there's only one problem. If the person is having an inferior wall MI and you don't know it, giving a sublingual nitrate can cause hypotension. So there's one more cause for hypotension. In an inferior wall MI or an RVMI, you give a sublingual nitrate. This was the initial method of treating a patient with angina earlier. Now the focus is on treating the etiology. So unless you are sure, only if you are sure there is no inferior wall MI, you can give a sublingual nitroglycerin or a tablet, especially if the pain is still persisting. But otherwise, give an aspirin, open up the coronary artery, give an anticoagulant like enoxaparin or heparin. It should solve the problems. In fact, the usage of intravenous nitroglycerin and sublingual NTG or sorbitrate has drastically come down in medical practice in the acute coronary syndrome period. Anything else? Can you explain the loading doses of Kirti Narayanan? Any consider about? No. There's no consideration about any other drug unless otherwise the patient is having a bleeding diathesis or a hematological problem. Otherwise, there is no problem. You can load. In fact, almost all the patients will be immediately loaded on coming into an ER and confirming that the patient has got a STEMI or an NSTEMI or a refractory unstable angina. Patients are given aspirin and clopidogrel or any of the newer drugs. So antiplatelets, why antiplatelets are very important is I have to tell you the pathology. The NSTEMI, where the ST segment is depressed, the pathology is due to a partially occluding platelet-rich thrombus. So in NSTEMI, the focus of treatment is giving antiplatelets. Whereas in STEMI, it is due to a complete occlusion. Understand, in NSTEMI, it is partial occlusion. In STEMI, it is total occlusion. In STEMI, the occlusion is by a platelet-rich thrombus. So you better give antiplatelets. Whereas in STEMI, it is a fibrin-rich thrombus. That is the role for fibrinolysis. When should we ask a patient to take ECG? Oh no, go to the hospital. Don't waste the time taking the ECG. Go to the hospital. Your feedback link is not working. I don't know. So the most important thing, don't waste time taking ECG. Take a tab, call the ambulance. In case of hypotension, yes, you want run in IV fluid. Yes, a trial run of about 200 to 50 ml can be given to find out if the patient is due to some degree of hypovolemia, but not more than that. If the person doesn't rise, BP doesn't rise, patient is going into a cardiogenic shock. The most important thing is go to a cath lab and find out what is the pathology. Most often it is a left main coronary artery disease. You have to tackle the problem immediately. Troponin III or troponin I, which is significant. Both are good, but troponin I is what is commonly done. Drugs to be given till ambulance arrives. Aspirin, Disprin especially, 350 milligrams. Chew, swirl it in your mouth. Allow the buccal absorption to occur. We do not want to waste time Atorvastatin is needed in MI? Definitely. In fact, we give about 8 tablets, 80 milligrams. Sir, can acute coronary syndrome occur asymptomatic? Oh, very interesting point. Can acute coronary syndrome occur asymptomatic? In fact, one of the great orthopedicians whom I had to meet with for my father's surgery told me an interesting anecdote. He told me, Vali vandu oru varaprasadam thambi. I did not understand it then I understood. Vali irundha dhaan nama kandupidikka mudiyum. So if the patient does not have a chest pain, especially the elderly, those who are diabetics, sometimes in women, and post-operative where the patient is lying down operated, there is no symptoms. This is called a silent MI. And here the diagnosis is mainly by taking an ECG or doing an enzymes. Oh no, if aspirin is not available, immediately any other NSAIDs? Definitely not. So sudden cardiac death can occur even because of arrhythmias, primary VF. How to diagnose ARDS? I think that is deviating from the topic. ARDS is acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is not due to cardiac. Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I hope I answered all your questions. Which drugs are most important? The most important is aspirin, anticoagulant, thrombolytic, if it comes with the time. And the other important thing is going away directly to angiogram and primary PTCA. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, very useful session. Anything else?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you
We
very
are
much.
running
I'm very
short of
sorry
time.
for the introduction of audio and the video at times.
Yes, sir. Since we are running short of time, you can ask your doubts to speaker through email also. Now I request the Vice Principal Ma'am, Dr. Bhavani, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Gomati. Good morning to our most valued Honorable Management Committee, Chief Guest, friends, seniors, and everyone present here. It's my privilege to extend the vote of thanks in this webinar on behalf of Faculty of Allied Health Sciences, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute. It's my immense pleasure to thank our Honorable Chairman, Dr. A.C. Shanmugam Sir, President Engineer ACS Arun Kumar Sir, Secretary Thiru A. Ravikumar Sir, Vice Chancellor Dr. Geeta Lakshmi Madam, Registrar Dr. Palanivel Sir, and our Medical Director Dr. Shahnawaz Khan Sir, Dean Dr. Pregna Dolia Madam, Medical Superintendent Dr. Palani Sir, for their constant support and guidance in organizing this webinar in Faculty of Allied Health Sciences. A big thank you to Dr. Muthukumar Sir for his efforts towards ECG in acute coronary syndrome. It's a very informative and essential talk, sir. Hope now everyone might be aware of it. Let me call it fraternity of cardiac care technologists here together, and on my own behalf, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all of them for gracing your important work and sharing with us your findings and opinions today. A special mention to our respected principal, Dr. V. Kalpana Devi Madam, for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing as pillars of strength in guiding us to organize this webinar. An event like this cannot happen overnight. It requires planning and a bird's eye for details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very proactive and dedicated staff of our institution, particularly Dr. Lakshman Raj Sir and his team. My special and sincere thanks to all the faculty members and students for their participation in this webinar from our home institution and other institutions. My sincere thanks to Almighty for making today's event a resounding success. And soon we will meet in another webinar with his blessings. Until then, I wish everyone to stay safe. Thank you once again. Thank you.
And let me just add my thanks also to Dr. Lakshman Raj for his effort and all the people who have been, so many people have been involved behind this. I'm just only a talker. Doing a talk is easy, but organizing is very tough. Thanks again to Dr. Kalpana Devi and the team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Finally, I thank our
Thank you,
guest
sir.
speaker, Dr. Muthukumar, sir, for spending his valuable time with us. Thank you once again, sir. My special thanks to our principal, ma'am, for the constant support and guidance extended to all of us at all our times. She is the backbone and pillar of this event. Thank you, ma'am. My special thanks to Dr. Lakshman Raja, sir, for his technical support. And I would also thank the Vice Principal, ma'am, department staff, and all the faculty members who extended their hands towards this program, and all the participants and my dear students for spending your time with us. Thank you, everyone. Dear participants, we will be posting a feedback form in the chat box. Kindly fill the form and post it before 10 p.m. And e-certificate will be sent to your registered mail ID.